Back in Denver, and lovely to see some faces that I do know. Hopefully we'll get to meet each other over the weekend while I'm here. I just want to say perhaps a few words. I work for a number of different organizations, but one of them being Melton in Israel, and I'm involved in running the Israel seminar. Basically, Sue's one of our amazing promoters and marketers of bringing people to Israel, and we've had some wonderful opportunities with wonderful groups coming from Denver to our 10-day educational seminar. And if you ask yourselves, especially those of you just in your first year of Melton, what has been unique, what has been special about the way that you've studied here in Melton, think about taking that not only through the actual text, but taking the text in context, taking what we study here in the actual place where it takes place. And I would highly recommend to come and invite you to come and join us on our Israel seminar. We have 3 different types of seminars. It used to be that they were only open to Melton students. We have now opened it that it's to any serious learner of Jewish education who wants to come and study. It is not a tour that will take you, that you can look on your list and tick off all the different blocks, so you're here for half an hour and there for half an hour and then everything's done. Rather, the way we do it is to try and take the concept and educationally put pieces together so that you can understand a flow, a narrative that goes through and hopefully connect to Israel in so many different ways that you haven't done beforehand. For those of you who've been to Israel 1,000 times and seen so many different places, hopefully we'll go back to the same places and you'll see them in a very different light, and hopefully raise tremendous different questions that you haven't had before. And for those of you who've never been to Israel, it's a wonderful way to actually come and say, I'm actually getting to know this place so much more than what it is. We obviously go to see sites, we also try to see people, because it's not only about the rocks, about the people that are there. And in a certain sense, I think what's unique about the Melton seminar is that it's a wonderful group of people from all over the world who come to join in a way of saying, let us just have a great time while we're being serious about what we're doing, as opposed to just being the tourist who has to go. And in that sense, what sometimes I open up on the seminar is the concept of, if you're coming to, when you travel, why do we bother traveling? Why bother traveling? Firstly, it costs a lot. Secondly, it's jet lag. Just stay where you are. It's much more comfortable. You've got the pillow that you want. You've got the food that you want. You've got everything that you want. And why do you allow yourselves to go and be taken on a group where you're going to be forced to different places? And so if you think about it, in ancient times, and you look at the Torah tells us that God expects that we should come visit his place 3 times a year. So I'm not saying you have to come from Denver to Israel 3 times a year, but that would be wonderful if you do. But what is this concept of travel? And certainly in ancient times, travel often was the concept of pilgrimage. And when you look at today, when people travel, you ask yourself, when we travel, do we travel as pilgrims or do we travel as tourists? And what's the difference between being a tourist and being a pilgrim? So I don't remember who I learned it from, but certainly there are many doctorates that have been written on it. But perhaps the idea of tourism is this. We love to travel because we love to leave where we are, go to the periphery of the world, where we can see something exotic and exciting that we've never seen before. We then come back, and we go back to where we were, and this was a wonderful taste of something. But often what tourists want to do is tourists go on vacation, meaning we vacate. We leave. We go to somewhere where we can be empty, where we can be vacant, so that we can enjoy the taste. It is good, and if we can fill our time well for those few days, we are delighted, happy with the provider, and then we come back. A pilgrim doesn't travel to go to the periphery of the world. He may travel far, and he may travel even further than many tourists going to the periphery. But the pilgrim leaves his center to go to another center. He leaves not because he has to leave where he is because he's got to get out and vacate, but he goes perhaps what we would say on a holiday, on a holy day or a holy mission that will take him to another center that is pulling him. And the pilgrim will go there and hoping that the reason he is traveling is so that the travel will be that when he gets to that place that is not his usual center, but now is his spiritual or his emotional center, he'll be able to take what he has there and bring it back to his physical center. And in that sense, often I say to people who are with us on our Melton trips that perhaps what God said originally was, why do you have to go on pilgrimage? Because perhaps the physical journey helps us actually start an inner, emotional, spiritual, whatever type of journey we're looking at. And so that the outer journey should be reflective of an inner journey that's really happening with us. And I think that that's perhaps one of the beautiful things about the Melton Seminar. We're not there to make you change and to say go from one place to the other, but in true Melton style, let's open up the possibilities that hopefully this physical journey that you're going on is opening a whole different journey that's happening to you inside of you, that those of you who come while you're already studying your first year, those of you who come afterwards, can be part of a lifelong journey that you can then say, wow, I'm connected in so many wonderful ways. So they're all usually a 10-day seminar, starting on a Monday, finishing on a Thursday, so you can come either before Shabbat and have your, be able to have a little few days so you get over the jet lag and get into the seminar. Those who want to make it back for Shabbat afterwards will still be able to do so. Those who don't want to, you still have the opportunity of doing that as well. But bottom line, it's like this. Our 10-day, what we call now the classic seminar, is our 10-day seminar, which is, we call it Wrestling with the Angels. It's a story of Jewish history over 4,000 years connected to the land of Israel. Beginning in ancient times when Abraham is told, Lech lecha, go, leave your home and come to another place, and we follow in his footsteps as we see where he originally begins and go through all the way to the modern day state of Israel. We then have our second seminar called the Returnee Seminar, those who return because they can't get enough. And so it focuses more on the modern day state of Israel and all the issues that we have to deal with, as what's a wonderful opportunity for the Jewish people the first time in our 2,000 years is that we have the power to decide our future for ourselves. But when you're now powerful and no longer powerless, what do you do with the power? And often power breeds not always positive things. So our second seminar deals with all sorts of different issues that are part of the difficulties of Israeli life and what we have to deal with. And our third seminar that has just piloted and is sold out for the March version, but openings then for June and onwards, is what we call Biblical Insights, which is a story of 10 days of going through the different biblical sites in the text as well as in the context in order to try and understand the biblical story and how that informs the modern day story of the state of Israel. So you've got three different options to choose from. Bring your friends, bring yourselves, bring your family, whoever it is. It's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. And so far, those that I've been involved with, and I've been involved with the seminar for 5, 6, 7 years, I can't remember exactly, but we have said these were the most 10 wonderful days in my life. So come and join us, have some wonderful days. We'll be only too delighted for you to come. It is really something that we're tremendously proud of. It's wonderful that we have someone like Sue who keeps on pushing and makes it happen and markets it and promotes. We've got some wonderful graduates standing around the room who've been on our seminars as well, and hopefully will be on others as well. So please feel free to talk to those who've been to Israel and what it's done for them. If there's anyone who is standing here who'd like to share, maybe, I speak too much, but if you prepare to maybe 2 or 3 sentences, and then maybe some people, if you want to ask questions, feel free to do so. Is there anyone who wants to say?
Well, when I went 2 years ago, it was like my 6th or 7th trip to Israel, and it really was the most remarkable of experiences. So if you've never been there, it's fabulous. But if you've been there many times, it's still wonderful studying with the Melton faculty and other really committed learners.
I agree. We were on the same trip, and it was my first time there, and it was just phenomenal. I mean, it was the 10 best days of my life. It's amazing.
Yeah. Any questions? Alrighty.
Okay, thank you very much.
To that.